first item of business is approval of the, wait a minute, we should do roll call. It's not on the agenda.
Is that?
Nope.
It's not.
Has it ever been? I didn't take it off.
It's on mine. I don't make transportation, but.
Well, maybe I should add it. I will add it.
Okay. Roll call, committee members, Sheeline, Jamie, Bowers, and Schubert are present. Are any of the others? Tom is on Zoom, and I believe Bob is absent. Other members present in the room, Becky Brenner, Board Secretary, Paula Meyer, Treasurer. Stacy is hiding over in the corner. Andy Shaw from Blackhawk Hills, John Nicholson, Board Chair, Charlie Bloomstruck, State's Attorney behind me, and Mike McBride is our IT person running all the technology here. Okay, I think I got everybody. So now on to approval of the previous minutes. Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes as presented? If not, they'll stand approved. Visitors. Stacy, we'll start with you since you're hiding back in the corner.
I don't have anything necessarily right now. I am on the agenda, so I can speak to that a little bit later.
Okay. Paula, anything at the moment?
Oh, sorry, no.
Okay.
No,
Okay, so you're on the
whatever's
agenda.
on, yeah, when you come to my.
Andy, you're on the agenda, or do you have any?
Yeah, I'm here for an agenda item as well, so
Okay.
yeah, thanks for having me.
John, any comments?
I'm just virtually here to kind of reinforce Dave and on projects we've got going, but the main thing is Charlie and I had a chat yesterday about the minimum wage. We're gonna get somebody out again pretty soon. And on July 20th, it goes to 9.25, and on January 1st, 21, it goes to $10, and we'll go up a year from then on. So we're gonna have to start thinking seriously about how we're gonna get the revenue to do that, and who's gonna get paid, and how they're gonna get paid.
Next month it goes up to 10. Yes, next month.
Next month? I thought it was January 1st.
No, I think it's next month.
I thought,
I think it's July 1st.
I think July went up to 9.25.
I think that was this last year.
Okay.
That's
I think it's 10.
been important.
It is. Because you are very quickly crowding up on people who've been here a number of years.
That's the biggest problem we have, not so much making the minimum wage to people who are not gonna make the minimum wage, but we have that 5 years, buck a year for 5 years, up to $15 an hour. And the ones that are gonna get the crunch, like Paul said, are the ones that have been here for years, and some of the lower paid people are gonna be pushing them pretty hard. We have to figure out what to do, either give them a raise or say, attrition. I don't want to fire anybody or let go anybody, but attrition is not all the thinking. When you think about it.
Okay. Charlie, any comments for us this time?
No, thanks.
Okay. Mike,
No, I think we're good on naming people, so we don't have anybody in the, everybody should be named.
okay.
Just an FYI.
Well, Kevin Lally is here, and
AW is Wendy.
Wendy. And that's Kathy Myers on the bottom. Oh.
Yep.
Okay, so we can add those to the,
Just the three, Wendy, Kathy,
and
Kevin.
Kevin, add those to the
and thank you.
roll. Okay. Treasurer's, financial monthly report. Oh,
They were sent to you. I don't have a report on them unless you have questions, which I will go research and get back to you on.
okay. I didn't see anything drastic, but I didn't spend a lot of time.
I did, I guess it's kind of a segue into that. I did send you yesterday, and I apologize, it would have come sooner, but I was kind of waiting to see if the state sent out any more information as far as what we got. So I added another month. So that is, includes the June state disbursements that came out this week. So I sent you guys the spreadsheet of the major revenue sources in Fund 1 and also the safety fund, the public safety fund. so that you would have, you know, kind of what's happening there. And if I recall correctly, I have to find it, but
I just pulled it up here.
yes, so we are starting to see a drop. So in June, we received April's collections, which would have been first month of pretty much being closed most of the time. And it dropped by 30%. The county sales tax, well, depends on where you're looking.
Well,
15 to 20% is the drop there. We did actually see an increase in local use tax, which is where the online sales tax goes. So that actually went up 10 grand for the month over what we averaged in the past. And not quite 10 grand, I guess, 5 grand. So depends on what year you're looking at. So that might have gone up a little bit, but we would have, you know, I think they're still implementing people actually paying sales tax online, getting people in compliance with that. Plus there may have been an upsurge, a little bit of an upsurge in sales that way. Income tax is about the same as it's been in the past, which is not to be unexpected. We probably won't see a decrease in income taxes until next year. Public safety tax was down $10,000 from last year at the same time. So I would suspect over the next couple of months, we'll see quite a drop in some of those sales tax numbers.
And then hopefully as people get out and about, they'll bounce back at least a little bit. So, okay, thank you, Paula.
And you said that was a monthly.
Yeah, I update this every month. I'm planning to send, I started sending it a month or two ago, and so I'll try to send it out every month with updated numbers. The problem is I don't get the current month's numbers until about, you know, into the second week of the month, so sometimes I can't get it in here.
Do we need a motion to approve?
No, it's just informational.
So,
Jim?
on this, just for clarity, you've got these months here, and this is when I'm assuming this is when it's received, and then
Yes.
the left column and the right column month is
Is when it was collected.
when it was collected.
Yes, so, right, so the last one we received it in, if you're looking at like the county sales tax, up towards the top. June is when and April is when it was collected. So it takes the state a couple months to turn it around and get it kicked out to us.
The thing you have to be aware of is that when you get down to public safety sales tax, I don't recall the exact figure, but I think you have in the low 90s. Bring it down on the bond.
Yeah, so if you go down to what I set up, the public safety sales tax is at the bottom of that spreadsheet. So I guess I'm sorry, I didn't print off a couple of them.
I got
it. It's a little busy, but downstairs. So, chaotic. I put down underneath it there the budget for the year and where we should be for the year if the budget is allocated. So we should have collected 670,000 in like the public safety sales tax for the year, and we've collected 613. So we're 55,000 behind in public safety sales tax collections for the year.
Means we gotta wait another 50 days.
Well, if that trends.
Yeah.
If that trends.
If it trends. And I don't think it's gonna, I think it's gonna trend for hopefully 3-4 months, but then it'll bounce back with vengeance, because people have got a lot of sales buying that they want. I don't think so.
I'm guessing COVID is gonna do a significant rebound, especially when we get closer to fall.
I'm trying to put positives.
Just saying.
You know, but if we look at
For what
our,
they're saying, in those states that have opened up, the hospitalization rates have gone up.
I heard Iowa.
I don't think you can trust the testing numbers because that's all over the place, but
yeah,
you can probably trust hospitalization numbers. Anyway,
okay, thank you,
because
Paula.
I'm here to give you a dose of reality, that's my job.
That was, don't
Did I hear
misguide.
the phone ring? I heard the phone ring.
You want me to leave?
It's down. It's
I'd
written
be
down
happy
in
to
the
leave.
treasurer's
I
office.
have got a lot of stuff to do, I'd be happy. You want me to leave? I'll leave.
You got a lot of
Stuff to do.
Okay, anything else for Paul on the report?
Morning, Judy.
Yes, Judy joined us.
Okay, add Judy to the, visitors arriving at 9:10.
Just an FYI, I pulled up the minimum wage there. I don't know if you want to talk about it, but I did pull it up if you want to see it. There's a chart.
It's 10, by July 1st.
Yeah. You want to see it real quick?
Sure.
Probably affecting you, you know.
Yeah. I just didn't want to say it. It doesn't, yeah, labor.
Actually, I haven't been, this is just, I don't know, I should say it here, but now what the heck?
Right
It's
here.
gonna be 11 by January 1st.
What's up, fast?
Mhm. Very fast.
Okay, well, that's information that we'll deal with later. Quarterly report is not, that's on the end of May.
Next month,
And so we don't have May.
right, yeah, so that's a,
Okay, monthly resolutions, Joseph Meyer. Kathy, do you want to comment on those, please? Kathy Myers? She's muted.
she may have run out, a lot of times she just bugs out, but, so you might see her in a second. I don't know.
Kathy, are you there?
Can you hear me?
There we go.
Now we can.
Okay, very good. These are just two of the Joseph Meyer tax auctions. These would be for taxes that were sold at the auction in 2017, and they've now gone through the 3-year cycle. And Joseph Meyer is selling the property now to the new owners that are shown on your sheet. So we will have 2 resolutions going before county board for those tax auction resolutions.
Okay, thank you, Kathy. We're passing the sheet around so people can sign it here.
All right, thank you.
Okay, moving on to old business.
Ms. Marilyn, real quick. Andy has Anna Marie, wanting to come in. Do you want to do that now as far as his business or? Okay, so I'm gonna join her, so she'll be on, just an
Okay.
FYI.
Oh, on Zoom?
Yeah,
Okay, that's fine. Thank you.
I just wanted.
What's her
Do we
name?
need motion to pass this on to?
Yes,
board?
yes. Motion to pass the Joseph Myers.
So moved. Second.
Moved by Jim, second by Dave. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay,
And who was first?
I did.
Jim, who was second?
Dave.
Dave, thank you.
Okay, moving on to old business. Dave, I think you're the man on this.
Is it sheriff? One?
He just texted me, he said he doesn't have the invite. He
Yeah.
just asked me to get it back.
Yeah, I'm gonna try
I
to,
can go over it. I don't want to keep us planning on it.
I'm gonna see if I can find the info and try to email him real quick.
What do you need? I got it, I just sent it to Greg Saunders.
I can go ahead and get started.
Okay.
He joined us. So in your package, you have probably the easiest is just see the drawing. Since last month, we became aware of a 100% grant that would be available for counties or for this situation. So we were looking at, we're working with Ringland Johnson, the sheriff, Kevin Lally, and Ringland Johnson have been working on a design for, this is really what we would need long-term in where the current old jail is. This facility, the first is kind of the parking lot. So if you're looking at the bottom of the page, looking at the first one, the bottom of the page is the new courts building. And on the right side is 3rd Street. On the top of the page is South Hennepin. So the blue outline is the building that would be constructed, the parking lot is there, and there's also an entrance from 3rd Street. Couple handicap parkings there, so. The upper floor, actually, second page is the lower floor. There would be access from Hennepin. And what this provides is 4 holding cells, 4 or 5. 4 holding cells, space for secure unloading of inmates to those holding cells and back to transportation. On the right side, on the left side is judge parking. the secure judge parking. At the bottom of that drawing is the elevator shaft existing. We would be putting new elevator equipment in there, but that would allow transport from the lower level to the courts level of the inmates.
Okay, I've got to get this thing oriented right from my perspective here.
Which one are you looking at?
Well,
So at the bottom, you see the little bump out box?
yeah, that's the elevator.
That's existing elevator.
Okay,
At the top would be Hennepin Avenue. I mean, there's a parking lot out here and then
Yeah.
existing parking. And so this is really pretty close to the existing footprint of the main jail right now. It's smaller, but in that general area.
okay, and the, Sally Port then where the would bring in the prisoners would be,
On the right side, in the kind of the grayish blue shaded area,
okay,
and your holding cells are there.
okay, and then in the greenish is,
Secure judge parking. And get your storage, mechanical rooms and electrical rooms.
okay, thank you.
Uh-huh.
I just wasn't getting it oriented. right.
Yep, no, I know. The first one was a little hard.
Well, the first one you had some street names.
Yeah, that helps, yep. So, and then, if you flip to the third page, this is the upper floor. This would be the new EOC, very similar to the layout that we have, the backup plan would be the third floor still, but very similar. This would be the new EOC. This would be accessed from Third Street. The elevator does not stop on this floor for security reasons. Does not need to, because from a handicap standpoint, you can access it from Third Street. This is very similar to what Kevin has had in the past. Any questions there? I also have looks like you have a ramp as well. And
I need my magnifying glass on some of
yeah,
this.
Yeah, I just got new glasses, but they're not strong enough for this.
yeah, if you're reading the lettering, yes.
Okay, so the main portion of the LC would be at what?
What's that?
No, I've got it oriented in this position, so
Yeah,
the,
you still got the elevator there. You
Okay.
see that'll help you orient it.
okay, so the main portion of the ELC is to the top as I'm looking at it.
Yep.
And then we've got two conference rooms over to the left,
Workout rooms, yeah.
and then there's one up in the right-hand side also. Is that another conference room?
That's the director's office with a table.
Okay,
John's on Zoom now.
Oh, okay.
They,
Mhm.
this is a brand new building.
This is a brand new building, the
We're
grant,
at- What about the old jail?
the old jail would be
Will be gone
demo-
right now.
demolished as part of this project.
So this project will be covered with the grant.
Correct.
Yeah.
If we were successful, it would be covered with the grant.
100%.
Yes.
how could we be so much?
The very rare grant, it'd be 100%, that includes demolition.
So there's two pots of money. One is we have to have the application in by the 15th or 16th. And our plan is to submit this Friday, tomorrow. That's 25 million. And then there's another 25 million that's available, has to be submitted by the end of each year. So we will submit the whole and see where it goes from here.
Both Beth or both state?
Will, Illinois.
The grant funding is through, grant funding, Dave, is through DCEO, and it's for 5 million max per project. It's due the 15th, Monday.
Yep.
So we gotta get our paperwork in, and so I'm redoing the estimates this afternoon with Greg Stone.
Yep.
On the project.
Yeah, I know Greg, I talked to Greg, on Tuesday, and he was trying to be done today. So that's why he's reviewing it with you today. Very good.
Dave or John,
Question?
Yes,
You said it's both parts are covered by a grant, both demolition and construction. Is that all included in one grant? I mean, in other words, do you submit both those as one item? Or do
yeah,
you-
it's all one project, Tom.
Okay,
Demolition all the way through the end of construction, it's all one project.
perfect, thank you.
And just kind of a sidebar, we're gonna be talking, phone system and, the network upgrades for the new courts building. Since that is really an attached building to the new courts building, we felt that we could legitimately, Greg Gates worked with it and said we thought we could include that in this project. So we've got it's about half of the money from the phone and net infrastructure network update also included in the FF&E for this. So if we were successful, that would potentially take care of the new courts building upgrade.
Okay, the total amount of this grant would be,
Cost of construction and demolition and construction.
okay, but it would cover the whole works.
So do we have, there's no, numbers?
That's what they're working on right now. I mean, Raymond Johnson has been working on this for the last 2 weeks-ish, right? Or maybe a little more.
About
But
2 weeks.
yeah, they've done the design build with the sheriff's department and
So it's 5 million for the DCO grant,
that's
and
the
then,
max
and that's the max.
per project. We'll be under that.
And
I'm going for that. Going for what, 2.5 million, give or take?
I don't know what the number is.
I know what the number's been at.
okay. And what's the other part? The,
It's same thing, I think, 25 and 25, 5 million max. And 500,000 minimum. So you have to have a $500,000 project at least. This one will certainly be above that.
Right.
John, do you have any idea what the totals are coming in, or is that something?
oh, it's 25, the whole pot of money is 25.
Correct.
Okay,
Okay,
so we're in competition
Yep,
with other jurisdictions for 25 million and 25. So it's $50 million total, 2 grant pots, and we're in competition with all the other jurisdictions.
But we're applying for roughly 2.5 million. Don't know.
No, we're applying for 5 million.
okay.
Okay. That's gonna be the grant request going out tomorrow
Monday.
or Monday.
Yeah, we were trying to get it out by Friday if we could.
Till midnight, Monday.
What's that? Yeah, no, I know the deadline. Greg Gates had just indicated the sooner the better, and Greg Stone was trying to be done today, so we could submit it tomorrow. But in any case, we will submit before the deadline, one way or the other.
So, if we don't get the grant, what's our cost gonna be for this work that Ringling has done here?
The cost will be $7,500. Actually, the cost, yeah, it was $15,000. They said if we're unsuccessful, they'll cut that in half.
There was communication about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago on that subject of it. Work on all of things.
Okay,
And what I would say is, it's good information for future potential grants as well. If we're not successful here, that not the last we'll hear of it.
Change the dates, we submitted it.
Yep.
but there's 2 right now, one that we can submit immediately, and then one in another 2 weeks.
You can submit them for both right now.
Okay,
You just have to have it in by the end of the month. The earlier you get it in, the better.
okay, sounds good. Get it in,
Yep.
get in line. Okay,
Further questions on that?
And then on the phone system, the 256,000 bid, we're hoping you've got half of that cost.
Got the new
Build
quarters
in
cost and
into
build
this.
into this.
Gotcha.
okay, I guess you might as well just
What's the use? Can you go over the new phone system?
It's an agenda item.
Yeah.
Is it up?
Okay, so we'll.
Well, I think we pretty much got that one done, but now the LDC demo,
That would
And
be,
that, it kind of ties in together here, so.
yeah, that really, this, would supersede that essentially. That would be part of this project, so that would be on hold. If this was unsuccessful and we decide we want to continue with the demo, that's, could still be done. And John, I don't know if you received an updated quote. I know we were waiting on one more abatement quote, I think.
Yeah, that's correct, Dave. I have not received that yet.
Okay,
A couple times last week and a half and still have not received that number.
okay.
Okay. I think that's kind of item A and B
Mhm.
lumped together. Item C, retrofitting the jail for COVID-19.
And you don't need any action out of either of those from us.
I don't think
No,
so.
that's, we can remove that from the agenda.
Yeah, C is,
Needs done?
Yep.
Okay, then we are down to upgrades.
okay. What I would say is the information in your package is confidential. We have provided you the actual quotes, and I'm not gonna discuss who the vendors are or what the numbers are because we're in a quote situation, but they're there for your information. You know, total, you know, there's various pieces of it, and right now, this does not yet include, there's one piece that would be still significant, and that's, right now, our new courts building internet is serviced through 911. And we're going to do that, a new run from 911, not through the jail, but directly to the new courts building that's in here. That's part of the fiber optics from 911 to the new courts building. Right now, the connection between the new courts building and the old courts building for internet over here is wireless. And that's less than ideal for reliability and speed. So while we're doing the infrastructure upgrades, what we're recommending is putting in fiber between that building and this building. We have a quote in progress with one of the vendors to do that. And also the other vendor is giving us an option as well where he would provide internet service in both buildings, but then you have a monthly cost. So if we own the fiber, we don't have that monthly cost. If we don't own the fiber, it would be a monthly cost. So we just have to compare that.
So that's the only thing that's not included in these two quotes.
Correct. Yeah, the two TBD on the spreadsheet there, that's the one. And I would, at this point, see at the 1, 2, 3, 4 lines down, fiber optic.
Oh,
cable.
gotcha.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Okay.
I would say that's probably somewhere in the neighborhood of 40 to 50K. Could be a little lower, could be a little higher from what we know right now. We got some good news in terms of locating the water line. They can do it with radar. They don't have to dig up. That was a good thing. They would be doing this with directional boring, so you don't have to tear up the street, but you have to make sure you miss all the utilities, so. Okay.
I have a question.
Yes.
For fault of my own, how did we arrive at this? The meeting of the new phone system is,
Well,
what's wrong with our phone system? A lot of stuff.
Mike,
what's-
Mouth just dropped, Charlie.
I'm sorry,
It's
I'm not aware of any.
And Mike can probably speak more to the technical portion of it, but it's the original phone system that's been in the building since it was constructed. And we've had issues in our office, and I think Mike will probably agree with this, that because the agent system is used there, it's caused problems for us to actually speak with people over our phones. We've had issues with the speakerphone, we've had issues with people saying that it sounds like we're in a tin can, or it sounds like we're far away, that kind of thing. So a lot of my attorneys have actually been using their speakerphones on their cell phones to communicate, or using their cell phones to communicate. So we've had some issues with that. I think Stacy's had some problems with probation as well. I don't know any other departments that had issues.
the other thing I would say in this group, it's not, those are necessities, obviously. The newer phone systems have a lot of features, particularly advanced features that would help our or the system over there function better in terms of pairing your cell phone, call forwarding, it's just call management, call, auditing, you know what is being used. And we would be going to a VoIP system, so your monthly bill would be somewhat lower. So, voice over IP rather than a traditional phone.
Is this increase
Provider.
up in our internet bandwidth or anything?
I would say yes.
And as
Mike could
things
speak to
get-
that probably better than I can, but
As
yes.
things go more and more into the cloud,
Right.
it seems like things have been kind of grinding to a halt.
Yeah, the infrastructure upgrades that our vendor who does our infrastructure is suggesting is putting fiber between our network switches. Like in each building, there's closets on each floor that provide the actual internet to each computer. And one of the weaknesses I think we have is that those aren't fiber connections now. And this would upgrade between the floors with fiber coming into the building and that type of thing. And then new network switches throughout, because for the voice over IP, you have to have switches that provide power. And our current switches do that, as you have the switches are better now than they were when the switch was installed.
My accounting software slowed down quite a bit, and now the tax software is slowing down.
Yep.
I can't get tax bills to work, and I'm trying to push through.
Well, and
400 payments. a
and
day.
over here,
It's a
you-
little, like, I want to throw this through the window.
Yeah, and I would say that's, your wireless connection is not gonna be nearly as good as future fiber connection.
I think what you have to realize is that wire was put in there probably 18, 20 years ago. when it was built. Everybody realized technology advanced in the last 18 to 20 years. And we're just trying to show 7 pound manure in a 5 pound bag. It's not working anymore. That's the way I look at it. Long way
Are
down.
we paying for this year's budget? We have to amend it.
Well, what I think in talking with Bob Olson, we talked about, and I think would be practical if we were to kick this off yet this year, would be do half of it out of this year's budget, capital improvements, and next year's budget, and we probably would be short some, but that would come.
And one other comment, and she's sitting there quietly, but Denise has graciously committed some funds, not only for our new video arraignment system, but I believe it was $50,000 toward the automation of the new part of the phone system and so on, if we do need that and don't get the grant. Am I correct, Denise?
She's muted.
All right. Oh. Hang on a minute, Denise, you can hear it.
I think I'm unmuted.
There you are.
Now you're
Now you're
on.
good. Hi, Denise.
Okay, I did commit 50,000 to the telephone system. I did already talk to Judge Hanson about that too, so he is on board.
Thank you, Denise.
If I may, Mike, you've been a little quiet over there. Is there anything that we need to add to it? Anything that
I think you guys are good. The only thing I will state that, the dependency on the internet, dependency on the fiber, you're only as good as the source. So keep in mind that there is no redundancy built in around here. That would be a downfall. Fiber gets cut, we're down, period. That's true of anywhere around here. There's no redundancy if it gets cut in Chicago, we're done. There are talks of building redundancy so that if something happens, and, instead of going that way, they go the other way. So just keep that in mind as we go down that path. But that would be true of anything if the fiber is cut.
I mean, that's true today, and I think Mike's absolutely correct. Ideal situation would be a ring loop where you could be fed from two sources. I think,
Is that possible at this time?
well, we wouldn't, that's not something we would do. That's something that the internet providers or you got Rock Falls and I-Fiber in the area. To me, where that would apply would be 911 for sure. If you're gonna do that, if the providers are gonna do that, they would wanna service the main essential businesses.
Yeah.
And 911 would certainly be one of those. So if you have redundancy to 911, then you would have redundancy to the whole Lee County facility unless we cut the fiber between the buildings. But that's not likely undergoing to happen.
You know, it wasn't that long ago, I don't know, week, 10 days ago, where there was that accident up
Sure.
in Chicago, and everybody in this area was out.
Yeah.
He had Comcast.
Okay.
And I think that says the need for redundancy.
Sure.
Okay, I would like to make a comment.
Okay, Judy?
Thank you. I was going to report it later. I listened in on that conference session last week. But one of the things that was mentioned more than once is that the government will be allowing very low interest rates if we needed to borrow. Considering the debt that we already have, I'm not sure how solid we are to do that, but they mentioned that in order to do the priority projects in the counties, that would be an option to look at. So I think they were talking like 1% interest. Thank you.
Thank you.
The other things, I mean, we certainly have places for it, but we did have kind of a land windfall this year with the NICE plan in terms of permitting. So that is certainly helpful this year.
We're not ready, you're still looking for another bid though?
Yeah,
We're not ready to.
this last piece for the fiber we're waiting for, and we should have that probably next week.
Okay.
I guess,
So we
what
will
should
wait.
this look like going forward? We've been trying to pull the numbers together to get some idea if we should proceed with this or not.
I think it's definitely a priority item that we need. Can we afford it?
Yeah.
But, needs and I don't classify it as a want, I classify it as a need. You get this other piece, July, is that gonna be time enough to start moving on this?
I think so. I mean, I don't think we probably want to do it all at once anyhow, so,
Okay.
and we can work with the vendors.
So you'd be looking for, you're not looking for any approval or anything like that this
Not
month,
today.
obviously, but you're anticipating next month. And then is there any between the two quotes, there's a fairly significant difference, material difference in price. Is there any functionality differences between the two, or is the equipment essentially the same?
There's differences, and there would be pros and cons of both. The one vendor is the current system we have out of the new LEC. It would be more compatible with that, let's say. We would have one vendor integrated system between the buildings. And that would be probably the pro to that. The other vendors are network vendors. So, I mean, I think we do business with both parties. And we've had, I think, reasonable service from both.
Now, how are we, there's differences in functionality between the two proposals. How does that handle through the bidding process?
I know, and my suggestion would be, the one vendor is inviting us, they have actually a showroom for their equipment, they can demo it, that kind of thing. So we would do, I think, that suggests that we might, and any of the department heads that would like to be involved. And we've kind of tapped on, Charlie Brian Grimm has some expertise from a previous life, and
Right.
we've kind of tapped on him for opinions and advice, but I think that's kind of the process we would work through and also work together to get them on.
Kind of harder than not comparing apples to apples.
Yeah,
Well, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And that muddies the water
Yeah.
considerably.
So is one system preferable to the other? Or could they both bid on the same, they can't, their equipment is different?
yeah, it's quite a bit different. Could not both. The system now, what I would say, the system on LEC isn't a bias system. It's a common vendor for phone systems. There could be other vendors that could provide that, but our network infrastructure guy would not.
Okay. You say there are other vendors that could provide it. Do we
Yeah.
need another vendor comparable, with comparable equipment to provide a bid? So we do have apples to apples.
Honestly, what I would say is these two vendors, because of our existing network infrastructure and our existing phone system, they're probably the best suited to deal with this for us. We want, in terms of service going forward, we want to be able to pick up the phone, and if you involve a bunch of different vendors, then you've got opportunity for
Get your dollar.
yeah, exactly. Finger pointing, and that's not an ideal situation. I would lean toward, and there will be pieces of this that, if we were, there would be pieces of this that would probably go to both ends, period. But I think we would be best to stick with these two vendors that we currently do business with. I know Charlie's office has talked about doing a, what do we call it, single source situation because of that.
Okay.
So that we do have good service when we need it. If you have half a dozen vendors involved in a system, it just makes it very difficult to.
I understand that, but I also,
Yeah.
looking at bids that aren't comparable, how you. So, okay. So further research on this and it'll be on the agenda next
I
month.
have a question.
Okay, Sharon?
Have we looked into any grants for this or?
There was a grant that we were looking at earlier in the month,
Mhm.
and it was a maximum of $15,000. I think it was really considered an awful lot of work to go through for a very small percentage of the project, so we did not pursue that. You don't know what it, could come up, that's something we could continually look at, but the need is ongoing right now. We're trying to solve the problem.
Okay. Yeah, I think we've got the scope of what you need to do and what rest of the issue will get into.
Okay.
Election security, Kathy, you still with us?
Yes, I am. I wanted to update the committee and let you know about the new Senate bill that was passed last month. It's Senate Bill 1863, and it is requiring us no later than August 1st of 2020 to send every voter that voted in the last three elections. That would be the 2018 general, the 2019 consolidated, and the 2020 primary. We are required to send them an application for an official vote-by-mail ballot. They're anticipating that more people due to COVID-19 are going to be wanting to vote by mail. So with that being said, I will be having to mail out roughly 13,000 vote-by-mail applications. So, and this has to be done by August 1st. So naturally, this is an expense that I did not budget for. So I'm going to be doing my best to stay within my budget but there's a good possibility that I might be going over. Also, after I send out the notice August 1st, if you are a voter and you do not respond to my notice requesting a ballot, you will get a second notice from the Secretary of State on September 15th. And if you don't respond to that notice, you will get a third notice from the Secretary of State on October 15th. So there's a lot of additional costs that's going to be incurred countywide and as well as statewide. There is money that will be available through the CARES Act grant fund. I will not know how much the county qualifies for until after the June State Board of Elections meeting. The numbers are based off of the 2020 or the 2010 census and your number of registered voters. So I will not know how much Lee County qualifies for to get reimbursement, but the reimbursement will cover like the postage, the equipment that we need to handle for the central count, and it would also cover additional part-time help. The other part in the bill is that within 2 days after receiving the ballots, I have to convene a panel of 3 election judges to come in and count these applications and the ballots. So in the past, we have always done this internally with our own staff, but now I'm required to bring in 3 election judges. So every 2 days after we start getting these ballots after October 1st, I need to convene these judges to come in and count these ballots. So that's the best information that I have for you at this point. I did receive an email this morning from my election vendor, and they are offering a package to do this on the county's behalf, but I've not been able to get a quote yet to give to you because I just got the email from them this morning. So I will calculate it both ways, and I will go the cheaper route in order to get this done. So does anybody have any questions?
Okay, you referred to this as a Senate bill, but it's passed both the House and Senate. Has the governor signed it? I mean, it's law now?
Well, the governor has not signed the bill yet, but it has passed both the House and the Senate.
Okay. Anyone have any questions for Kathy? I think it's a wait and see how much money we get and where the cheapest way is, and you gotta do what you gotta do.
Yeah, absolutely.
See, I'm not the only one with bad news all the time.
Kathy, you just made Paula feel better.
Thank you, Kathy. She doesn't feel.
Doesn't help me, Paula.
I know, I was gonna say, you don't feel any better.
I share the misery. Okay, anything else on that, Kathy?
Nope, that's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I think that wraps up old business unless anybody has anything else there.
Well, technically, that was a 2020 election security, but
Oh, that was,
that's where the department head, but Bob just wanted me to keep that on there going forward, so we would have it on
okay.
the agenda.
I guess I just looked at 2020 election and,
Yep, and that's fine, so I just wanted to point that out,
Okay.
we just wanted to keep it on there. And then can I pass these executive notes around just so everybody else can, because
okay,
I need to get those approved. These are the people that, please.
Marilyn, I think that item that Bob has there was also my request for the bailiff.
okay. I just
Not
read,
knowing how many people I'm gonna be having coming in the building. And I guess the last thing that I'll add to what I had said additionally is that this doesn't really give us any savings because I am still required to have all of my precincts open. So even though we're doing the push for the vote by mail applications, I still have to have all of my polling locations open in November.
Okay. So you really don't have anything more on how many additional people you would need? I mean, we are where we are.
Yeah, no, I don't. Again, I really can't estimate how many we might see here.
Okay,
I just don't know.
Hey, Marilyn,
yes,
I think part of the reason we kept this on the agenda was to keep it in the forefront because it will require some attention and we don't want it to become lost in the shuffle of things and suddenly rear its ugly head and we're not prepared for it.
okay. And I just took what it said 2020 election to be what Kathy just reported on, so that's my error. Okay, moving on to new business, corrected social services date. We had a conflict with the date we originally selected. I think the committee has a handout here with all the dates, and we've moved the social service hearing 1 week later.
So it was originally scheduled for the 24th, and now it's 31st.
Now it's the 31st.
Do I need to send out an updated calendar for you guys?
We got it here,
Oh, I did send it to you. Okay,
Yeah, I
never mind.
and I think, yeah.
All right,
we got it.
perfect.
I have a question. We're gonna assign the departments to the finance committee.
We actually have something for that too.
Yes, I think last year we did it a little closer too. We
Oh,
probably
yeah.
do it, we could
Yeah.
probably do it at next month's finance meeting.
You know, our meetings with the department heads should be between August 3rd and August 21st.
Yeah, so we can cover that, I think, in the next. Because I should by then have something to do there.
Do you want a list of the department heads?
By next meeting, that'll be fine, and then we'll get a sign. Okay. Lyra, Rochelle Economic Development Update. That's you.
Absolutely. Received an email this morning from Jason Anderson, from the city of Rochelle and Gretco. They are applying for a $5 million Federal Railroad Administration grant to fund a $10 million project to further expand its three-track rail system a mile farther into Lee County. This project, if it should be approved and funded, will create a new mainline interchange between BNSF and the city of Rochelle Railroad. We would then pursue establishing a new intermodal service to replace the loss of the UP Global 3 closing. Hundreds of industries will benefit from this new intermodal service and will attract new industries to build Lee County. A letter of support from Lee County Board will need to be included in this application. The city of Rochelle has asked that the letter be sent to Jason Anderson by next month.
Okay, so we need to,
So in a nutshell, they're trying to expand the railroad into furthermore into Lee County with the possibility of, and Andy, you can help me out.
I believe
Uh,
it's done by
working on it
Stewart.
By Stewart,
So it's deep into Lee County where the
deep
switch
into
is.
Lee County, but they're hoping to have a new intermodal.
Mhm.
That will benefit us a lot.
okay, so he's asking for a letter of support.
And, from the county board chairman.
Already been moved.
Yeah, and I talked to him this morning, because I just received this at
To me, she can print it off and I can sign it. It's kind of a boilerplate letter, but it shows support.
Okay,
Basically what it is, if you read the paper, UP basically extracted themselves out of the intermodal over there that they built 10 years ago or 12 years ago. Jason, I mean, that's a terrible blow to Rochelle and the whole area, but Jason was talking to the firm in Northern and they're going to build a smaller, hopefully more compact, more efficient type intermodal that will service fewer cars, but it's still a real good thing for the Rochelle area and for Lee County because it's going to be in Lee County.
You have the letter.
It should be on your computer by now.
okay, so we don't need board action, you just take care of that.
I can do that, yeah.
Just needs a
A lot of
letter
companies
of-
that use that.
Oh,
They're
yeah.
being told they gotta go to Joliet or Chicago now to get on that line. So it's a huge added cost that CHS ethanol just for one. It's taking on dramatically higher costs for the amount of things that they do on a daily basis.
Okay.
We'll see.
Moving on to item C, since I was challenged to keep this meeting short. Moving on. Yep, there has to leave.
Hey, Larry, will you forward what you were reading?
Okay, moving on, item C, resolution establish budget amendment. Talk today.
Amendment.
Paula?
So, all right. We have change in structure and we don't have an administrator anymore, so our policy before was updated. And I've now got my first request, to change the budget for this current year, and we didn't have an up-to-date policy, so I updated the policy that we had, and the net of it is that you guys have some contingency funds, not very much actually, I only think about 75,000. And so if you're going to redistribute that to budget, other, departmental budgets, the process will be that if it's up to 25,000, it will just need to come here to the finance committee. Anything over 25,000 is gonna go to full board. Any transfers or adjustments of personnel costs or capital expenses will need to go to the full board, that's statutory. So that will go to the full board. Any changes that, okay, so this is the one that I'm gonna bring to you next month because it's out there. So the highway department got, some of you have heard this already, haven't you? Sorry about that. So the highway department received a big chunk of money from Green River Wind to make road repairs. So they got a new revenue source. They're obviously gonna have expenses this summer to do those road repairs, so we're going to do a budget adjustment that will increase both of those. Those type of, a new revenue source expenses that go with it will only come here to the finance committee. And then by statute, any intra-departmental rearranging. So for example, in the treasurer's office, I've got postage and I've got supplies, and let's say I don't need to use my postage so much, and I've got a big supply that I want to purchase for some reason, I can rearrange within my budget for non-personnel and non-capital things to whatever degree the department head wants to do. So that's in the statute also, that we can rearrange our budgets for non-personnel and non-capital expenses. So that's basically what this policy says. It's not a huge change really from the old one, but the administrator approved several things before, and since we don't have one, we need to take out something we can work on.
So we need to pass that on to executive and then on the board for adoption of the resolution.
Yes, if you are okay with it, yes. And I did also send out to you just, kind of some forms that I was gonna use through the, actual process. There was a sample of what will need to go, if there's something that needs to go to the full board, I came up with kind of a pro forma resolution, and then this is my internal document for our tracking purposes down in the treasurer's office when we actually make the change. So, yeah, so if you're okay with that, yes, please pass it forward.
Okay, Jim or Tom,
And then,
any questions?
No.
On the intra-fund, requiring only approval from the department heads, is that a material change from what we've been doing, practice we've been doing before?
Actually, it was something that needed approval. It was in the policy that the administrator would approve it if it was over, I think, $5,000 or something. But the statutes and the opinions on statutes say that the board doesn't have any control over our rearranging our budgets. We have statutory authority to do that without your approval. So our policy. I know. Our policy actually was.
I said that was assertive.
Well, it is, because you don't.
Please. Put you in your place.
I'll be happy to put Jim in his place anyway.
I've been doing that for years.
So anyway, our old policy actually was not really in compliance with statute.
All right, very good. That's the only question.
We'll entertain a motion to move that on to executive. Moved and
So
seconded.
moved.
so all I saw were heads now. Who's?
Dave,
And
Dave and Jim. I think Tom was in there too, but, okay. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
All right.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, Tom, Insurance Committee update, that's you.
Bob and I talked about this, that as a subcommittee, we have never reported, and we should be, so you know what's going on. However, unfortunately, this year, we had a meeting scheduled in, I believe, February, and Chris, our manager, if you will, from the insurance company, resigned shortly before the meeting. So that meeting was postponed. And we have since had emails back and forth regarding there's no information to discuss at this point. So right now we have a meeting scheduled for August that will take place, and we'll see, and we'll still get our 4 meetings in for the year that are required. But everything's going along as expected and going normal so far. Any questions? We'll try to answer.
Anybody have questions for Tom? Okay, thank you, Tom.
Marilyn,
Yes,
can that company, Tom, one of the questions I would like you to ask is about the Envision, because that was a part that was neglected. That was the reason that this insurance policy came in so cheap, because one portion of it was not divvied up between the employees and the county. So I don't know if they can handle that or if it has to be done separately. So I would hope that would be one of the, put on your agenda for that meeting. Thank you.
thank you, Judy.
We'll take care of it. Thank you, Judy.
Okay, COVID-19 effects on county finance. Paul, I think that's you again.
Well, honestly, I guess I kind of forgot that it was a separate thing. I don't have anything else to share other than what we talked about earlier in that tracking of revenues.
Okay,
Well, I guess we can touch on that COVID. So Bobby asked me to start sending you guys an just a printout from our GL system on what we've spent on COVID, which I also forwarded yesterday along with that revenue spreadsheet. And if I recall correctly, because I don't have that one on my computer, that it was about 13,000 we've spent. Yeah, we've spent so far this year, not including this month's claims.
These are the reimbursable expense, not reimbursable. Yeah, it's reimbursable, I guess, would be the word, where it's, they have a 75-25 split. And these would be the expenses that the directly eligible for that.
So that's
Now,
all.
What FEMA's gonna do is up to FEMA, but this is what.
So I don't have a whole lot to add other than, kind of trying to track where those revenues seem to be going and what that effect is gonna be. And I can't tell you where that's gonna go.
Everybody have a copy of it.
This is Judy, Marilyn. Okay, Kelly and Taylor talked a little bit about that last week. So some of the CARES money will now be going to the CARES Act. Kelly reminded us that DC CEO staff is also not working at full staff, so everything is slowed down there, which not surprised, I don't think that's news. But it's going to take a while. There is some money, but some of that now that we thought was just going to be municipalities and counties, maybe going to nursing homes and other entities that take care of people. So how that money is getting to get divvied up, we don't know, but DCEO might be acting as the bank for that federal money. And they tried to make some comparisons with other pandemic type things, and this one is just so different that there's really having difficulty tracking, and that's coming from the people at Northern and all the presenters that day. So it's just they're saying to stay in touch with our representatives, state and federal, and it's just going to take time. Thank you.
thank you, Judy. Okay, moving on, item F, C-PACE resolution. I don't know who's. Done with that.
Andy's
Andy's on that.
Big speaker on this.
Yeah, I mean, the resolution really is afterthought, but, to get there, but I wanted to show you through a presentation that I've given to everybody here first. But yeah, get your understanding and comfort with the idea and then see where it goes, but we do have a resolution that could be used. So, you're ready then?
Yeah.
Yeah, so,
You're up.
yeah, this presentation that I gave everybody, yes, I have another copy.
Yeah, I've said.
You have it, okay. Great. So what this is, CPACE is commercial property assessed clean energy.
And Andy, did you by chance, does she have a copy of, we could share a screen if,
I don't
okay,
know,
I don't know, if Tom, I just didn't know if we could share a screen so other people could see it.
might not be handy enough.
Okay, that's okay.
I've got Anna Maria Blog here with me. She just blanked there. I don't know if she has the document readily available or not.
No, yeah, no
This
worries.
is her presentation, so.
I could actually potentially do that. Let me see if I can get it up really quick.
Yeah, if it's handy, otherwise,
Yeah, I just didn't know if Judy and Tom have that.
Yes.
it was distributed.
Oh, okay.
By Becky. But I brought new copies in color today,
Okay.
just in case.
Just check. Whatever you guys want. That's fine.
So we'll just keep going, because I don't want to take up too much of your time or too more than I deserve. So anyway, it's a commercial property assessed clean energy. That's what that stands for. And it's an economic development finance tool for clean energy projects in commercial real estate only. And so there we go.
Can you all see this?
Yeah, that's great. Thank you.
Oh, great, sure. Okay, so I'll move the slides along as you start talking,
Great, so
Andy.
yeah, going on to the next page, who's talking with me here, that's Anna Maria with the IECA, and they are a very qualified party that does program administration for this, and that's, if Lee County were to do this, we would need a program administrator to handle a lot of the duties with it, and that's what she does with this group out of Oak Brook. And moving on then, the concept of PACE and CPACE has been now put in 37 states, 22 have actual active operating programs. Illinois has just come online with a handful of counties. IECA is the administrator for quite a few of those. It started in DuPage and Kane, and Suburban, Cook, Chicago now are moving along. McHenry's moving along as far as I know. There's some Peoria area counties and St. Louis area counties as well. So a lot of them are coming on board with this just in the last couple of years, and deals are starting to happen. Although it's only a handful at this point that have actually closed and are finished improvement deals. But moving forward then, the PACE is, again, a financing tool. It's a financing option that's for those commercial property owners to fund energy efficient measures in new construction or remodel construction projects. It can be 100% financing or 100% funding. So it's through local government. The conduit for the funding ends up being a portion of county government involvement with the payment structure of it. And so we'll talk about that later. The improvements, these are real estate improvements that are permanently attached to the property. And most of any commercial property are available to do this. It's not for government owned buildings, and it's not for residential. And residential must be greater than 4 units. So really a commercial style apartment and multifamily, and it is voluntary. Moving on then, the types of projects that can use this are those that use or save energy. So a very expansive definition. You can see some of the things here of what those might be. Basically, the rules are they need to either exceed code in a new construction situation or exceed baseline energy use as it stands today. So you need to basically be saving energy to be qualified to use this type of thing. The process then on the next page, the improvement is first evaluated for its its efficiency. A professional would come in and do that through this program administrator. They take care of that, and they have to make sure that the project is saving energy in some way. In pretty expansive and a liberal definition of savings, this isn't something that requires you to be LEED, et cetera, LEED Gold, or whatever those different levels of savings are, but it needs to be showing that savings. The debt is then repaid by and through the county tax bill, and the funds that the county tax bill that the treasurer collects are then remitted back to make the repayment for the debt that is incurred for the project. And the next page then just shows the tax bill. It's kind of a placeholder slide, but basically, imagine a tax bill. When somebody pays that bill, the total new amount, it'll be the same check that they paid to pay the county tax. It would also include this separate amount that would be itemized there, included in that same payment. So the payment is by the company, they're just paying their taxes, but it happens to include the repayment for this.
And I'm sorry, I'm gonna interrupt you for a quick second.
Sure.
I saw that, and in your sample, there is no line item. for
It's
that.
not shown here.
Okay,
That's correct.
okay, because I was like, that sample doesn't show that.
Right, right.
Okay.
And this is so fresh
Yeah,
that,
okay.
it's,
Yeah.
the projects that have happened haven't made it on a tax cycle yet to show an example.
Yeah, yeah,
Yes.
because as you look at that sample, I'm thinking, well, that gets distributed back out to the
Right.
government entities.
All of those would be intact and stay the same.
It's
This is
just
totally
really-
separate. It doesn't affect other tax rates or
Okay.
amounts that are on a bill
Okay, okay.
whatsoever. Yeah.
I think I have one, we contacted DuPage, and I think there's one in my email.
Oh, great.
But he sent a whole raft of them, so I have to sort through and find the right one.
I haven't seen one, so
Okay.
I would love to see
Supposedly
that
it's on
too.
the one from the guy from Page, I just
Okay.
couldn't find it.
Great,
last night,
great.
so-
So yeah, anyway, it's,
so it's-
when a company repays this, they view it as paying their taxes. Although that extra amount is coming out to repay the project that they did.
Okay.
Moving on then, why to do it? Really, the main barrier to doing these kind of things is lack of capital or finding that good financing source, a good rate of financing. And so a lot of projects don't happen because of that. And CPACE can be really the bridge to some of that happen. On the next page, it says property owner perspective. We'll get to some at the end, but it's basically a lower cost source of capital for the most part. And that's a big piece of the reason for doing it. No upfront capital is needed. So the project and the company owner can get this improvement made, 100% of it can be financed through CPACE. No down payment. That's up to 25% of the property's total value. So if it's an improvement project, it's that fraction of it, you can go up to that. And on a brand new one, it's again that amount. But on an improvement project, you might be able to fund the whole project, but with just this, since the building's already there, maybe other costs have already been paid for.
Can
Yeah.
Can I interrupt you just for a second? Now, any of the other places done this had an issue with reflecting this off balance sheet?
Now, and Anna Maria can speak to that for sure, but it depends on auditors and their opinion of that. But yes, they do that, and it does happen, I think, commonly, that it is not considered a normal debt. Because when it's being paid, it's an annual payment of the property tax.
As a CPA, I have
And-
issues with that.
But yeah, it's,
So just put that out there, I think there's a ethical issue there.
Anna Maria, can you?
Hiding debt.
So we are tax advisors, but dependent on the specific nature of that person's holdings, that company's holdings, and how, they view things, it can be reflected off the balance sheet. So it's not a loan liability. It is actually a special assessment that's repaid via the tax bill. We have a tax lien through the tax lien, we are a lien on the property. But we are a non-accelerating product, unlike a mortgage or construction loan, that if upon an event, for example, of a sale or a foreclosure, this debt runs with the land, just like the tax bill. And it is, since it's non-accelerating, let's take the worst case scenario of foreclosure or bankruptcy. You would, all that would be due on the PACE bill is not the full amount of the loan, but rather what is past due on the tax bill. So if it's 3 semi-annual payments, that's all that would come before the mortgage. And so written lender consent is also required. So this is how it's potentially an off-balance sheet product. It is non-recourse in the sense that the underwriting for this financing is actually on the property itself and not the property owner. And as I said, since it runs with the land on the tax bill, that is how it is non-recourse to the current property owner.
Okay, so if that's the case, and we have property that somebody walks away from, and they stop paying that, what is the investor who wants to get their payment going to do? And who?
So basically, yeah, it depends first on what the county foreclosure or tax sale process might be.
Right.
And then we're just a part of that. If whatever they receive, whatever you all receive, then our portion comes to us, just like the apportionment would go to any of the other special assessments or line items on the tax bill. And then it doesn't get paid in full, like I said. It continues to run with the land, so the next owner to take over the property would be assuming not only this debt, but they would be assuming all the benefits from the project that had been completed, and all the energy savings that come along with that should or potentially offset most of that additional cost on the tax bill through those energy savings.
Okay. So,
and that's the whole concept of it.
Right. So let me ask you something though. So I've got somebody who doesn't pay. They didn't pay their taxes, so I don't have any money to pay the lender.
And that's fine. And wait for it.
They're gonna wait. So if it takes 3 or 4 years for that property to sell, so they stop paying their property taxes, we're not gonna collect any money for 3 to 4 years, and they turn around and they sell that property.
Mm-hmm.
So the proceeds are gonna pay those back lien amounts and the back taxes.
Yes.
So if the property doesn't sell enough for the back taxes, does this get paid before, say, the school district and the other taxing bodies?
No, it is still just part of it.
It'll be prorated.
Depending on the particular county's tax sale process, there is the potentiality of us, just even the investors, taking it off. Well, and we aren't the investors. I'm here today on behalf of the program administration, which would help facilitate this, with the capital providers who are the investors.
Right.
And so, but I also work for a capital provider company, which is one of the founding partners in this organization, because you need expertise in this niche financing product as well as seed money to get the nonprofit started and be able to work as a liaison with the counties to facilitate this type of program. So we always have the opportunity with the special assessment contract that is signed by all parties, it is signed together with the property owner, the capital provider, and the county. So the county will have a committee per se that they will just put together. There's no cost to the county for any of this. The program administrator, such as the IECA, takes over and works with the county, but there is no cost. In fact, there is the opportunity for the county to earn a slight income stream, and then depending on the volume, it could be a good income stream. There is a closing fee on every project, that a percentage point that could go to the county, as well as knowing that there are expenses in processing through the tax bill and in reimbursing the lender, that there be a recurring fee that happens and is included in the tax bill to pay that fee. Sure. So all of these things considered through that special assessment contract then that is put on the property with this lien, then the lender would also have the facility, to buy out the property themselves and turn it into something else.
Okay.
So there are all kinds of different opportunities, but some of it, are based on the local laws together with, all of this facilitation.
Right. So, having, responsibility for that tax sale, I can tell you that sometimes it takes 3 or 4 years before there is a cash stream again. So if somebody's got a 25-year amortization and we've now lost 4 years of that, is that pushed out another 4 years?
Yes, it is. Yes,
Okay.
it is. Technically speaking, yes, it is. Absolutely. And that is why the lender is willing to do this. Because the risk to them is much diminished being on the tax bill. And so the lender is, I lost my train of thought just a second there. Wanted to make a point about, this being it is a fixed rate long-term product. And so the risk is understood by the lender when they're undertaking this. But a bank who already holds a mortgage, and they might have some portion of a construction loan, maybe this is a larger project, maybe it's just the energy efficiency portion. In that case, depending on the value of the property, we could go up to 100% financing, as Andy had stated. But it's because of all of the different intricacies of how this product works that make it of a good risk scenario to the lender and makes them willing to wait in the tax sale scenario.
Okay.
So I guess a question in relation to what Paula was working with. In a situation where a property owner does not pay their taxes and we have a tax buyer comes in and pays the taxes, and after a 3-year period goes in front of a judge and says, I want a tax deed on this property. If this lien is not federal or state government lien, the judge can wipe out all liens against that property and the new tax buyer owns the property lien free. So my question is, in a case with a mortgage, typically the bank will step in and pay those taxes so they don't lose their investment. Will this
And
happen?
that's where the lender gets paid, yes, is through that.
Yeah, but I'm saying, does the lender step in and pay those taxes such that a buyer can't take them? There's a risk here where you could lose this property easily through, I'll call it collusion, between a buyer and an owner. Buyer comes in and buys it, he gets it lien free, and now that previous owner just comes back through and says, what'll it take to get it back? Now I've got it scot-free lien free?
Well, you know, I'm not an attorney, not an accountant, I'm not a tax advisor. A question like that, you know, I don't believe has come up yet in the US. So let me tell you that. And, you know, of course, this is a new program across the US. Started as a public-private partnership to be able to facilitate retrofit projects specifically to create more energy efficiencies, one project at a time across local communities. And so in the commercial PACE area, in the last 8 years, so it's an 8-year-old program, over $1 billion of monies have been invested in over 2,000 properties. And of those over 2,000, there's about 2,100, only 5 in the entire US have ever defaulted on payments. And of the 5, only 2 went to bankruptcy. But in those bankruptcy situations, there was tax sale and there was continuation. I think one of them was a continuation on the tax bill. And the other one, if I recall, the buyer just paid the whole amount up front to not have the additional cost and to bring the tax bill down to normal.
Okay.
So in each case, the lender was made whole. So I don't, you know, that scenario has never happened. And so we can only speak to it and involve attorneys if and when that ever worked.
Okay, so is it possible to get a copy of that contract?
Oh, yes.
Example
Oh,
of it?
I've shared that all with, so Andy has things that he can forward to you. Yes, absolutely.
Right. My biggest concern is that nowhere in any of those scenarios does this county become responsible for that loan.
No, never. The county never becomes responsible for the loan. That is correct.
No matter what happens to that property and tanks and, you know, whatever, this
That's
county
right.
can never be responsible for that.
Nope, that's right. We are just a drag-along special assessment on the bill because there will always be a tax bill for the most part, unless it becomes a public property. You know, again, scenarios that are handled, that's what attorneys, you know, exist for.
Right.
Their livelihood.
Okay.
No, thanks. No, yeah.
It's great conversations, good questions.
I have a eagerness with this, and I don't get all of that detail at times.
Well, I
Thank
think we kind of hijacked your.
Yeah. No, it's quite all right.
So the question, Andy, and Marie, the question would be, so the administrator, so properties that sign up and participate in this, the administrator would provide to the treasurer's office the amount that would be assessed on that line item on the tax bill. I mean, the treasurer's not gonna do that.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do.
Well,
No,
we have to manipulate the bill to
You have
add
to
this
manipulate
assessment.
the bill, but who's giving you the numbers to put on the bill?
The administrator and the capital provider are working together and present. So typically, I was beginning to say earlier that the counties may want to have however number committee formed to be able to review the projects before they actually go to closing. So it's not an approval process per se, but more of a review to know what's coming, to be able to prepare for it, to see the types of projects, to give their benediction of sorts, to say, oh, this does look good, or maybe if there's something that doesn't look right to you, or you have maybe some inside information locally and you're like, I don't think this is gonna work, you may have some say, you know, in that project. So, we are a facilitator who engages with you and wants to be a partner in the process.
Okay. Well, we'll have to do, if they pass this, we'll have to do some research on how we would manipulate the bill to conclude this assessment.
Absolutely.
But,
and so you can see from why on this next slide, why from a county perspective, and we just use the general word municipal, no cost to you, economic development and job creation as a result of the projects being done. It's available to all constituents as long as they have qualifying property and qualifying project.
And just a note on that, and right,
Yes.
there's kind of a practical floor threshold with this of about $100,000 borrow amount. So to make it really feasible for the fees and whatnot, but so, you know, these are gonna be properties with value, and a property that's not gonna not sell in a bad situation. You know, these are gonna be better commercial properties that are gonna have some good improvements done. So, you know, the likelihood of just going dormant for a long period of time is pretty low, because these are your better commercial properties that are gonna do this next.
That's
you
right.
just never know, and if it's gonna happen, it's gonna happen here.
Oh, no, I've got that covered. I'm the Mrs. Murphy of everything. So don't-
But yeah, just to wrap up then, there's some examples at the end here that you can look at, but in a lot of these, the costs of the financing, and two of them, about a third of the cost of the financing is covered by utility savings alone. And one of them, it's nearly all of it is covered by the utility savings.
Yeah, and that would be this retrofit
The second
window
deal is
project.
windows here, and that one, they're saving $5,900 a year. And I did an amortization calculation of that amount at 6%. These loans are in the 6% range, about 5 3/4 to 6 3/4 in that neighborhood lately. And that's about $7,344 per year on this one. So virtually all of that finance cost is covered by the utility savings on that one. So just some interesting examples there. And then on this loose sheet that's here, showing a construction capital stack, it's showing what that savings can accumulate to in a bigger project. They replaced a higher cost gap financing that was in the 13% rate, and replace that and replace some of the owner's equity with CPACE at 6 3/4. And this scenario saves this company $283,000 each year on a big new project for new construction. So being able to replace high cost financing is a dramatic thing for the company to be able to do. So we do think it'll be an economic development incentive and generator because of that. Not to mention, you know, construction and building jobs that would be tied to it as well. I'm actually on my way to a meeting in Rochelle with a company that wants to talk about this morning. I mean, I'm doing that as soon as I get there, which is not a problem. But just to let you know, I mean, people are interested in it, and I think it will be important in the future.
Okay.
That resolution is available. That kind of sets off a process. That's not locking things down. There's a follow-on program. What's it called? Program guide? Program?
Yes, so there are.
There's a whole system that will be built over time to set up the
Yes.
particulars of how the county would do it and what your contract would look like. And I think concerns can be incorporated into those things.
Okay.
But what that does is sets off a process to get it going.
So this resolution would give an opt-in to the Illinois Energy Conservation Authority's program. And we have a set program. That program has been fully vetted inside and out by attorneys on both sides for DuPage and Kane County, and they have the same program. So we're trying to roll out this program to any community that wants to, and working with the counties directly rather than going to specific municipal places. Although, for example, the city of Rochelle could decide to have their own PACE program. But it's not
If the county doesn't
as
want it.
effective. At a county level, it works best, and that's why we're approaching county.
Really, it's something that, you don't need to be in the enterprise zone. You don't need to be in a city.
Sure.
It's just a broad, the most broad way is what I would
Geographic.
suggest, why not? The county has an involvement either way. If the city of Dixon would choose to do one, county would still end up being stuck with some duties, although they can be reimbursed for those duties. But, you might as well be broad with it, I think.
Right.
And agricultural is also a component of commercial. So if it were a working farm that might be putting, let's say it's a dairy farm, and they want to put solar over their barn, that would certainly be a qualifying property. And some lenders are willing to go as low as 50,000 on a project. But again, as Andy had stated, anything below 100,000, the fees are based on a percentage of the deal. So the smaller the deal, the higher the percentage for the fees. So basically, it really starts becoming a great product at 100,000 and above. But knowing that agricultural is also a part of the component is very important. So the only things not allowed here in the state of Illinois for the CPACE legislation are residential and public buildings, because public buildings don't have the tax bill. And, although nonprofits and affordable housing, even if a nonprofit, for example, doesn't have a tax bill, the special assessment can still be put on the property. But on a municipal, it doesn't work. So, and part of the residential that's not included in the state of Illinois is condominiums. So anything that's a homeowners association would not qualify.
All right, thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you all for the opportunity today. I appreciate it. And if you have any questions, you can either contact me directly through my contact information on the PowerPoint, or Andy is very well versed as well. He's been a good partner.
Okay, thank you. Andy, anything?
No, I'm glad to be able to tell you about it. And, we're pretty excited. We think it'll be a factor in future development around. Blackhawk Hills is hoping to coordinate a 6-county thing once things evolve and get going.
Paula, were your questions regarding?
Yeah. I think so. I'd like to see that contract, which I
I will
forward
do it,
to
yeah.
And then I'll be forwarding it to Charlie also. And, so depending on what that is, I mean, I don't know what the mechanics of doing that is, because we don't put anything like that on a tax bill now with our tax software. That's all done really done down in the clerk's office. So I'm not sure how that would happen here, or what how difficult that would be. So that would be something I'll look into.
Do we want to forward that resolution on to executive, or would you rather have a look at that contract? I think we should probably do that first.
Yeah.
I'd be
That's my problem.
Yeah.
but I don't think we should do that resolution without looking at the legalities of it.
Okay.
So table.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah, thank you.
Is there a motion to table this till further research? Moved by Jim, seconded by Dave, all in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Okay, that will be tabled. Stacy, is you still around the corner?
What I'm here for is just to let you know that, last month I had a supervisor within my office that had resigned from his position here in Lee County. So with that, what that allowed was for me to look at doing some reorganizing within my department. We have had that supervisor position since about 1996, 1997. So with his departure, we did a little bit of reorganization. The reason that I mention that here is because that will then affect reimbursements to the county for the positions that we have here. Not to get into the long details of it, but if you recall, with the probation department, there are county funded positions, salary subsidy positions, and then grant aid positions. This county funded position, we only had one, so the county was paying that entirely. That is no longer. That was switched over to a grant aid position. So for this state fiscal year, that position is being paid at 100%.
That's good.
So that that took place on December 1. So then with the reorganization here recently, we have 2 salary subsidy positions. With those salary subsidy positions, the county receives $1,000 per month for each position, regardless of that salary. It's $12,000 a year, sorry, $1,000 a month. So with that, I also requested that one of those salary subsidy positions be considered as to be converted to a grant aid position, which then gets reimbursed at the rate where it's at, which is 4% for this year. That was granted, so that resulted in a cost savings as well. Where I'm at right now is looking to hire a new line staff probation officer. And that's where I got a little bit of a confusion because I wasn't sure what that process was going forward in the county, if we're still coming forward to request that. It's entirely in my budget to hire for that person. But I'm just looking for a little direction from you guys as well before I start interviews next week.
Did you approach this with public safety, which would be your committee?
Not formally, no.
Okay.
I thought the way that we had left it previously was that if that is entirely within your budget, if an employee leaves and that's in your budget to do that rehire, you're okay to go.
That was my understanding.
Okay, I just wanted the okay on that.
Well,
yeah,
I can tell you, Stacy, that you know, like what we did in transportation, because Dave had 2 retirements, both of them within his budget. Just in what Dave and I talked about, didn't want to put him in a position that the uncertainty that we have, county finances going forward, didn't want to be in a position of hiring somebody going through that process and then having to do a layoff situation or something like that.
Absolutely.
Have you considered deferring this and possibly putting this into the regular budget process or?
Yeah, I do. And before I get too far into it, I already saved the county $50,000 back on December 1 with the reorganization. I'm looking at cost savings just off the top of another $15,000. It's in addition to the conversion of the salary subsidy to grant aid position. You're probably looking at about another $35,000 to $40,000. So for me to go with a vacancy and then turning that money back to the state.
Really
So if I
make a lot
ever,
of sense.
yeah, so if I ever have to go back and hire again, it depends on the financial situation of the state, and they say, you can go ahead and hire, but then you have to do that as a county funded position. So then we're back to funding that. Reimbursement rates.
This one you're doing is 50, and I might have missed there, as I was trying to listen and follow what you were saying, because I'm still learning
Yeah, well,
your side of the house, so.
yeah, and it's a little different where I'm
It is. It
at.
is.
So this new position, the starting salary for that is right around $36,000. That's a salary subsidy position, so there's still money coming in for that. The reimbursement rate again for my department this next state fiscal year is again at full funding, which comes out of Supreme Court budget. So again, we're looking at the same amount of dollars, and actually with what we've done in the last 6 months, it'll be an increase in money coming to the county from the state.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
So when we get into the new budget, because of these savings, your budget request actually will be less in the coming year because you've got more funding coming into the state.
Well, keep in mind, with my department, the county only pays salaries, postage, maintenance. And I believe that's it. I pick up everything else on probation service fees. So when you look at what the county pays for probation, and that reimbursement rate is always a little bit behind. That was one of Lyram's questions in the budget meetings last year. The state fiscal year goes July 1 to June 30. Our fiscal year is December 1 to November 30. So we're always a little bit behind, but our reimbursement rate should be higher, significantly higher than the dollars that we received the year before. Does that answer your question?
Sort of.
When you look at that overall dollar amount coming from the state, it will be higher.
So, do you want actual dollars? Is that what you're kind of
Yeah.
asking? Okay, so just looking at FY19 in the general fund, which is where her reimbursement comes into, and that's where her, her department last year was 540, and the reimbursement was 179.
In what fiscal year was it?
19.
I didn't think our
So the reimbursement was quite a bit larger the year before, and the budget was quite a bit larger, so. Makes me wonder if there was something that wasn't put in the right place, because those numbers are big. So the budget this year, okay, let's just talk about budget this year.
Okay.
So the budget is 300,000 coming in. Find it on there.
Also, when you're looking at a revenue liquidation impairment, you're looking at fines and fees and costs that come in. We then in turn use that as expenditures to continue to support those programs.
600, so the budget is 600 in the general fund. That's for your salaries and all that good stuff. And then the reimbursement budgeted is 300.
I'm saying it was-
And then she's also got her probation funds, which she was just referring to.
Right,
which
and
is-
that's my operational money that I use
Yeah.
to operate the department. We don't approach the county for money for anything that operates our department, other than maybe $1,200 for state.
General Stacy, we basically, 2 months ago, when we first thought about this.
Yes, yeah. My question though is in regards to where it was left.
Yeah,
Was it left that we need to bring it to the board, the committee? Or I believe it was left that if it's in your budget, then you can go ahead and proceed. Because that's where I'm at.
That's kind of what I remember about you.
I agree.
And I think that is what my boss might have done.
I believe if it was in the budget, they could replace the person.
As long as it was that. And that's what I wanted clarification on just before I proceeded next week. To make sure that I'm going the right direction with this. And Mr. Sheila, I'm very cautious with the decision that I'm making and going forward. Considering.
Appreciate it.
Okay, so go ahead, I guess.
Yeah.
Thank you. Lease agreement with Best. That's just a, renewal of past agreements, $600 a year. Excuse me, yeah, I misspoke.
So there's no action there, just.
I think
as
the
far as
board,
Stacy, just.
I think the board approves that contract.
Yeah, we have to approve it.
So move it on to executive and put it on the
For Stacy.
Oh.
Just,
I don't think there's any action needed.
okay, just want to make sure.
Yeah. Okay, is there a motion to move the,
So moved.
That's the agreement.
Second.
Dave and Tom, move that on to executive. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Local Enterprise Fund money to Lucida. John, you want to explain that?
Yeah, back a month and a half ago, I would assume COVID-19 money, well, we had money in our budget, $225,000 bank, and we elected to reimburse back to the towns and the county that are part of the old enterprise, $125,000. It's split based on the percentage we contributed. Lee County got back $18,995.91. $18,995.91. And I talked to Paula, this money was to be used for grants or whatever. We have a little mechanism to do that efficiently. Paula didn't want to take that on, which I truly appreciate. And so what I would like to see done is just take that money and direct it right back to Lucida, who has the mechanism to do that. And just looking to give her some of that and get a board vote on it.
Did you ever talk to Bobby about that? Because I know he.
I never did. I called him last Friday. And he wasn't, he never got back to me.
You left him a message though, so he knows what you're up to. Because he seemed.
Right after we talked, I called him.
Yeah, he seemed.
I know he's gone.
This was brought up at the Lucida meeting, and I was on the phone conference with that also. And I think it's a good move. Helps us. Some money that's not really coming out of our pocket, but yet is an additional contribution to Lucida.
Well, I'm pushing it back to Lucida.
Yes.
It's gonna go where it was intended to go, rather than some.
So I entertain a motion on that to move that on to executive.
Executive, so moved.
Jim, Dave, second, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Did
Opposed?
we need a motion on the best? On the best, agreement?
I've got it. Dave and Tom.
I thought we did.
Oh, did we do that? Okay, I'm sorry, I was
I thought we
reading,
did
not listening. Okay, I just didn't hear.
Okay, elevator contract with Tony.
I like the backup.
All right, I had a sheet on that somewhere.
It should be in there somewhere. The big packet. And I think Greg is on too.
It's that, yeah, it's the second to last.
Yeah, that's the last.
Yeah, second to last.
We're not looking for an action here. It's really, Greg Saunders has worked with, the elevator contract and has proposed going with Colin on the new animal courts. And then that savings is about, $2,800, $2,856 a year for both buildings. So just informational at this point. But good work on Greg's part for saving some money.
Yeah,
I think that would save money, but no
and
action.
especially on an elevator. Elevators are horrible.
So no action needed there?
Nope.
Replacement?
Dave, please tell Greg we appreciate what he's doing.
Absolutely.
Okay, item K, replacement hire requests.
That was on the transportation agenda, and I didn't know if it needed to be on there or not. And to be better safe than sorry, I threw it up.
Well, we talked about this, Marilyn, you heard that in transportation committee. Dave had two retirements. And want your comment on this, Tom, because this may be, as Dave and I talked, and even though both those positions were in Dave's budget, given the uncertainty, he did not want to be in the position of going through the hiring process and then as we went through the budget and cuts were going to have to be made, that he was going to have to turn around and lay somebody off. So the compromise that we came up with is that he would hire a maintainer, try to get that person to also have some tech experience, be able to do drawings and whatnot, do a little bit of office work, kind of a long shot, but he was going to go for that. And then put the the other replacement into the normal budget process. And so that'll be talked about as we go through. So it was, you know, just one of those things that Dave understands that, you know, we're in a period of uncertainty. So.
Good idea.
So that will be coming out of transportation to executive. We don't really need that kind of here. Okay. County engineer salary, that's also coming out of transportation.
Yes, and this was the 2% increase for David's salary. That it's a kind of analogous. It's not the same as in Stacy's situation, but or maybe it is for your salary. But you know, Dave, we reimburse 50% of Dave's salary through state MFT money. But the state has a restriction on it that has to be within 95% of their guidelines, or else they will not reimburse that part of it. If the 2% gets David to 96.55, and that's where you kind of need to be to, you know, stay ahead of that curve. And so anyway, that's the explanation on his.
Okay, and that will come to executive out of transportation. So no action needed here. And purchase of folding tables and chairs for committee work.
This is D, and I can give it. D with the hearings that they've been doing, that type of thing. What she's recommending and wanting to pay for out of her budget is replacement of these large tables with one similar to the hall, the lifetime tables, 8 footers, and 50 chairs. Comes to about $2,600. Would allow for setting up the room or setting up wherever you need to in an easier way. These would probably move to the boardroom and be used there. But she would like permission to go ahead with that. She has that money in her budget. I think the total was $2,600. They would be padded steel, heavy duty chairs, and the folding tables, the lifetime tables.
But, just a quick comment, black bed, stackable chairs, adding 16 tables, 8 6-footers and 8 footers. We could configure this room. She did some measuring. We can configure the room to seat 48 people. If you look around the room, there's 8 tables, only 2 match. It's kind of eclectic. So, like to add a little professionalism to it, and they could be moved, like Dave said, anywhere else. So it's, I think it's a good thing for not a lot of money, and it's already in our budget. So.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion on that.
So move.
Second.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Can I have some conversation first? Okay.
Sure.
Yeah,
Where were these tables gonna go in the room you're in now?
yes.
So what do we do with all the furniture that's there now?
The older ones thought was that they would go into the boardroom,
Those tables and chairs?
not chairs, just tables.
The 3
Okay,
older ones.
what are we gonna do with what's there?
Well, two of the tables here fold up, and we could use those in other offices. There's 3 tables that are kind of match, and
Yeah.
I'm sure they could be dispersed to other offices. The older ones would go in the courtroom. We do have a extra group of side chairs. I think there's 19 side chairs and 16 armchairs that are floating around. And where they'll go, Tom, I don't really know, but.
Don, I guess my point is, we have all kinds of stuff stashed away in closets, stashed away where it shouldn't be. And we've talked repeatedly about getting rid of it, and now we're talking about piling more of it somewhere. And I would hope, since it's county property, we're not thinking it can just be dispersed to whoever wants it, free of charge.
Oh, I don't think
that's.
No, the intent
Well,
was,
I mean, but we need a plan. You're talking about spending money and buying something, I'm not opposed. But we need a plan of what we're gonna do with what's there and where we're gonna do with it. And we need a plan to get rid of all this excess stuff we've talked about for not months, but years, and we keep pushing that whole idea in the corner. We need a plan to do something, however we do it.
That plan has been partly implemented, with the, full jail things being dispersed. You know, some of that sale and some of that disbursement has slowed due to the fact that, the coronavirus and all that, but we do have a plan that's in place to some extent and it can be expounded on. We do need to get rid of some things, no doubt about
I think
it. There are some things that we got rid of.
Yeah, I think Tom is correct in that, we do tend to pile things up and we do need to keep that in front of us. I think some of this could just be disposed of and some of it probably has some value.
The online auction companies are really doing, all of them are doing all kinds of online auctions weekly, and they're getting some really good money for stuff, and I think before we throw it out, we should contract with somebody who understands that business to tell us yes, no, and to sell it for us and get us some capital out of it, rather than having it, because every time our maintenance people have to move it to do something, we've spent more money touching it, you know, I just, point. Okay.
Okay. Comments well taken. Anything else from anybody?
Yeah, hold on.
I know, but.
Oh, gotcha. On that subject,
On that
gotcha.
subject.
Yep.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second to, purchase folding tables and chairs for the committee room. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. I don't think we have any, Becky said,
Those special executive, or not the special, the executive
minutes.
minutes. Larry looked at them, if he's left, and we still, Tom hasn't seen.
I don't know that we normally approve executive minutes, do we?
Well, I
Those
was.
come through administrative services.
Say that again.
Those come through administrative services.
Well, something I read said that they had to be approved 30 days. So I was looking through.
Oh, I thought you meant, okay, but they can go public, sorry.
Since they were executive minutes, they had to be approved within 30 days. And I know typically they don't.
I don't think I've ever been involved with approving executive minutes for a committee.
No.
All right, well, I'll show you what I was reading.
Okay.
I just wanted to make sure we were in.
I would think that if you have executive minutes, like you approve your regular minutes, that you would need to.
Oh, I
approve
am,
it.
yeah, I got it.
Just, what do you think, Charlie?
I would think so.
Plumbing.
So would that be included then in the motion at the beginning of the minute?
I would think so. I would do it at the same time.
Okay. Or is it taken for granted that when we approve the minutes that they're all approved? I just want to make sure it's not.
Charlie?
I mean, you could at that point, but you didn't give them those minutes when they approved the minutes from the last meeting.
Right.
So in the future, that's probably a good idea to do it that way. I don't know that it involves too much to do with Robert's Rules of Order, as long as it's approved by the committee that is in there for the executive session. But Judy's right, it goes to administrative services to find out if there's gonna be anything else from after that. So I don't know if I answered the question. If there's another one, I'm happy to answer it.
It's just something I don't think I've ever been on, I mean, I know the committee has had executive sessions, but I've never approved executive minutes for a committee.
Specific.
Going well back to ad services, whether or not they're gonna be released or not.
Do you have the code section or whatever you were talking about?
I'll find it. I was looking through some stuff that he had in there and it said within 30 days.
Okay, well, I mean,
We say,
That'd be a new one to me.
yeah,
So, and maybe I misunderstood what I was reading, but I wanted to make
Because all
sure.
action is taken in open session.
yeah.
I mean, the logic is there. I don't know what code section you're talking about.
I'll see if I can.
okay,
Thank you.
anything else?
Marilyn, this is Kathy Myers.
Yes,
I guess this question would be for Dave Bowers. Do we need any further approval to move forward with my project for my blast protection?
Yes, I was gonna get to that.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, thank you. I think we had two things. One is for the COVID situation and opening of the old courthouse, we were looking at sneeze guards. The one area, Kathy's area, is the three countertops. She has two on the second floor and the election one downstairs. We get permanent solutions there. There's no other modifications to those rooms needed. They're in your package. This, as I understand it, is likely reimbursable for as COVID expense. So our intention is to go ahead with the $5,394 bid, to go ahead with those 3 offices and put in permanent sneeze guards. And that should be reimbursable. The other 2 areas, the treasurer's office and the assessor's office, we may do temporary there. Both those areas, we would like to do a little more security for the transactions that go on there.
Right.
So we're not quite as ready to put in countertops because there may be some other changes that need to happen to both do the sneeze guards and provide some additional security. So that's really, I don't know if I need any action here, but are there any objections to proceed with that?
No, I don't see, did I miss it on the agenda or?
What was passed from finance?
Oh.
Or property, not property.
Okay, so then if properties passed it on to executive,
On the finance.
on to finance, but it wasn't on our agenda, so we really can't.
Well, but it could be on the agenda, because by the time we get to properties, I've already posted the
Yeah,
agenda for
But
finance.
executive can act on it then.
And I think, Carol, if I recall, last month we talked about getting it done because
Yeah, I'm not opposed to getting it done. I'm just saying it's not on our agenda for us to take a vote on it.
Sure. We'll handle it.
Did we not vote on it last month?
Couple months ago or well.
Well, we were talking about temporary ones, and we will do temporary ones in the assessor's office and treasurer's office. We prefer to do a permanent one. I know the sheriff had recommended 2, and I agree wholeheartedly. This is gonna be with us, so we might as well set up the countertops permanently, just to provide that extra.
I believe the comment was made that if it's within a budget, it was just to bring it to the attention of where it's going to be spent. That they have to know why finance.
Okay.
Dave, did you see Charlie Thompson's email? He had a concern between wood.
Yeah, one is wood and one is aluminum, and that's just the way they do them. The lower cost one is wood, and that would be more conducive to the woodwork and stuff at the courthouse. We really prefer that anyhow.
Okay.
So that's the intent.
I didn't quite understand Charlie's email.
Yep.
What he was
That's kind of what it was.
leading to, but he brought a concern,
Yeah.
so.
Okay.
And then the last issue, and the sheriff, I think it would need to be a executive session. Is that what I understand, John Sampson?
Yeah, I talked to Charlie, and I think some of our conversation leads into an executive session.
Executive session for finance?
Yes.
Okay.
Right now?
Now? I mean, today?
Yes.
5 minutes.
Good.
Yep.
I'm assuming
So,
we'll have a lot of
Okay. We'll take a 5-minute break and then, I need a break too.
So we're still in open session.
We're still in open session, we're 5-minute break in open session.
And then
Yeah, I
you're
said we have to,
gonna-
otherwise
Last month.
You have to have them called, you're gonna do your. Yeah, we'll have to do that. You can do a magic, yeah.
Last month in finance, there was a-
Make sure, Tom,
To the end of the quarter is saying, we're doing
Judy and Tom, just make sure when you go to executive session that you mute your Zoom session.
I just want to make sure that's. But it said monthly.
Okay. So.
Yeah.
doesn't have anything to approve.
Okay, well,
Keep that.
I don't know why they approved, because I didn't give them the report last month to approve, so I don't know.
there's nothing.
So that's. Alrighty.
Again?
You're in there. Oh. I didn't, wasn't sure if I was gonna make it. What?
Does that cause problems by pushing still not together? Sure, I'm crazy about this. But I guess I feel better. I feel much better.
Well, I don't like it done, but, you know, the thing with this kind of, you know, if a program that allows or encourages energy efficiency, I'm all for it. I'm all for energy efficiency.
Yeah.
What I have a hard time swallowing is, I think your question is absolutely right. I'm not sure I like this idea of, what's this county committee? A county, they're gonna, in every jurisdiction, they're gonna have a committee that's gonna review these projects. What the hell's that? And who picks them? I guess they do.
Yeah, I guess.
And then what if they don't get that? Now, I can't imagine this happening, but what if they don't get you those numbers? Then what?
And then they're not gonna get reimbursed. Yes, yeah, I mean, I guess it'd be kind of on their head then.
I
that point,
guess,
you
and
know?
those investors are gonna be on top of that. And of course, lastly, that page on science of CO2 is absolute bullshit.
Oh, I didn't pay attention to that part. I was more
No.
concerned with.
Because I really, you know, and
Yeah.
I started wanting to bring that up, but what's the point? I mean,
Right.
this is about true believers and.
Sure. Yeah.
But to say when you read through that, the science of CO2, there was nothing scientific about it or science about that.
Exactly. All right, so I can go downstairs and do something and then, but you guys have another meeting starting right away for executive.
As soon as we get out of
Out of executive, we're going into executive.
Yeah.
executive session is executive committee.
Session here.
Something happened with the jail. I don't, it doesn't, John just told me in the office.
Yeah. I don't.
No, we gotta get Dave back and then we gotta do a vote on it.
Probably have to go into the courtroom. That way you can't see like.
Yeah, we gotta get. So we gotta get Jim and Tom. We'll call John.
Hello?
Get him in there.
He's got,
Okay, yes.
he's got a magic phone.
He's got magic.
Oh, yeah, thank you.
I'm not gonna hold it, like this.
Good plan.
Well, some things just
As long as
gotta
it
be.
works. Something's gonna happen.
Okay, I think we're all back, so I'll entertain a motion to go into executive session.
Second.
We need a roll call.
Wait a minute. Dave and Jim.
Yep.
Jim. Oh, 11:50. Okay, roll call.
Jim?
Aye.
Dave?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
And Beryl and I. I think that's Claire's no longer here and
Okay, order shut off.
Workshop.
Working on it. It's not quite going down far enough.
Oh, hi, am I supposed to call you?
Oh, get out there.
I don't know, you can call me, I mean, if the.
I don't- I don't-
I just remembered that. Yeah. Zoom's not on mute. Yep.
We're in the room,
so
Right.
that'll work.
Okay,
Where's it?
Okay, I don't know if somebody was to call you or.
well, I know you said, but I have your number, so bingo for you.
This works.
Okay,
There we go.
yes.
This is Jim.
Make sure.
That's where I was trying to put it. I was like, where's it at?
No, that would be Zoom.
Yeah.
So
So I
that,
put this here. It's kind of backwards, but
oh, yeah, but we'll just mute that.
okay.
So that's muted now.
Sounds good.
I got down there, I'm like, oh crap, I forgot. Now I'm out of breath.
What'd I do?
Look, I just hit the button too.
All right, what's that? Okay, so nobody's saying anything yet, climate change battery.
Okay, then get everybody back.
We are recording.
Okay. Jim, get back in here. Okay, we need a motion to come out of executive session by Jim, second by Dave.
No.
Roll call. Jim?
Aye.
Dave?
Aye.
Tom?
I'm still muted. There he is. Nice muted.
Tom?
He's muted. Mike muted all, so we started.
Okay,
So Jim and Dave made the motion,
they both voted yes, I'll vote yes, so we wait on Tom's vote.
and we are 11:20.
Okay, got both.
Oh, Paul.
Okay, Tom's unmuted.
Tom, we need your vote to come out of executive. Tom, wake up.
He's still.
No, he's not on my phone, no.
Do you think we were done?
Oh. I got him. Yeah, Tom.
Did we both do it at the same time, Mike?
Thank you.
Okay, you're good?
All right.
Is he on?
He's on, it's Rob is.
So did he vote for
There he is. There he is.
There,
Okay.
yeah, he's on.
And Judy's back.
Tom, we need your vote to come out of executive. We've had a motion and the rest of us have voted.
I heard him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where'd you? Oh, wait, hold on. Hold on, guys. Oh, we gotta unmute us.
Okay, Tom, now we need a vote, your vote, the rest of us have already voted to come out of executive session.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Oh, look, the sign language.
And you sent me a text. We were broadcasting when?
When you were sitting talking with Paula,
Oh, okay.
I just wanted you to know what you were saying was, later.
Okay,
No worries.
okay. Is there action coming out of executive? Just,
Oh, we had the, were we approving? Did we need to approve that expenditure?
Is it?
No.
I don't know if
It
it's
was-
this budget or if it's something coming out of some other budget.
Well, I think
I don't know.
Bob, stuck in an email last night, it could come out of the safety tax, or, in this one, it was like $9,000. Or
Yeah.
it's half of that, or, capital, but. probably one of those.
I'll make a motion that we spend up to $5,000 to fix it, as the sheriff just explained to us.
It's just under five,
okay, we've got a motion from Tom.
And that's coming out of public safety? Public safety
Yes.
tax?
Is that part of the motion? That's paid out of public safety?
Is there a second?
Second that.
Second by Jim. Any further discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye. Oops,
Sure.
did I catch you off, Tom? For sure?
No, just before you approve that, I just want to make sure that everybody was clear. The figure I gave you was for this retrofitting of the valves. is not the repair from the damage yesterday. So, I don't know what that cost is gonna be. Certainly not gonna match this cost by any means. But I just wanted to let you know, this is just for the repair of the valves. And the process that I explained to you.
This just keeps going, doesn't it? Okay. Well, let's let the motion go and do the retrofit, and the rest of it, we'll have to see where we're at. But
Yeah.
Okay. But won't this be a claim to CIRMA?
The damage,
Yes.
Marilyn, you're more certain.
I would think so, but yeah, probably likely, get
Give it
it,
a try.
we'll try it,
Yeah.
It should.
it should. The repairs should be,
But the motion is to get the repairs retrofit.
the motion is for the retrofitting.
So we get
Right,
ourselves back in business.
I think the damage are what go to CIRMA.
Yes,
The damage is just replacing head should not be that expensive. If they do it well.
All right, I'm confused.
Secondary of the motion is confused on what I just seconded. Are we doing, we're approving the retrofit of the new valves?
that was
Adding
my
3 new
understanding,
valves.
but let's ask the
Yes,
person that made the motion. Tom, is that,
yes. We'll approving the retrofit of the valves, the chain lock, everything the sheriff explained to us. And he said under 5,000, so I'm just saying we're rounding to 5,000 to cover it, not holding to a penny item. And just let's get it done and behind us so that we're prepared to safely move forward.
And so, and what we don't know yet is, John, is the actual cost of the repair.
That's correct.
Okay, all right, I'm back to it.
okay.
I know what I'm doing now.
And actually, the repair cost should be what we could turn into CIRMA, assuming it's, we'll see what it is.
Over $1,000.
Yeah, over our deductible. Okay, we've got a motion and a second. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, any more surprises for me?
Okay, I did want to, because you're out of time, I'm not going to do it, but I will send finance committee minutes, or some notes regarding our board rules for finance. At the time COVID hit, we were just starting to discuss it, but there are a couple of things there that our committee would like you to look at as a responsibility of your finance. So just, I'll send an email out as soon
Okay,
as I get it. Thank you.
thank you, Judy. Anything else?
Motion adjourned?
Second.
Meeting adjourned.
Here we go.
Thanks, everybody.
You too, Tom.
Okay, now we move into executive. John, you get
Take
this
that
chair.
5-minute break and keep going.
Okay, so now